Hey guys, it's Robin, RsIslandCrafts. Welcome to my craft room. This is my WiP It Wednesday video where I show you whatever I've worked on in the craft room this week, whether I just put a couple stitches in a pair of socks or I've actually finished a project. No finishes this week. It's been one of those weeks. I had a little bits of time here and there and there and here. I had a couple days where I could piece together about an hour or so here and then, but just sometimes life just takes over. Nothing crazy, nothing serious, and nothing really fun. Just one of those weeks where you kind of work where you can around life. I did work on my fabric postage stamp little mini wall hangings. All my little fabric postcards are stitched down. I went ahead and I added a facing to it. So these are, once again, they get pulled to the back and you hand stitch them down so that when you're looking at the project, all you see is the front of it and you see no binding or borders or anything like that. It's just a nice little mini project. So I have the first one with all my stamps nice and straight. Then I went ahead and I did a crazy one where I just kind of tossed them around everywhere and just kept pulling little fabric and pieces to fit in. Like I needed a little small one here, then I might have needed a little bit larger one there. So this was fun to work on. And since I didn't put any binding on it, once again, I have it faced. I used the stitching of the stamps down to count as my quilting, even though I cross-hatched. For the very first time, I successfully cross-hatched the quilt top. Now I thought that was really kind of cool because a lot of times I get puckering. So I learned with my walking foot, slow down, don't go super fast, and it'll come out good. I did have a little issue with marking the lines and making sure they're all even, so I just made sure they're all not even. So that way you can't see the little mistakes I made because they're all a mistake. And then on the back, all you see is where I stitched down each of the stamps. So that counts as that little bit of quilting to hold it all together. I used the same facing as I did for the backing. So once again, it blends. Sometimes I like to put a frame on it, but I really wasn't sure about this fabric. It's a little bit grungier looking than I care for, I think. I don't think that this color is actually a color that I care for. It's kind of that steel blue color with some little white patches all around. Very grungy looking, but it works. I thought since the top was a bit splattered that I'd go ahead and make the back that way too. And once again, it's on the back. You're not going to see that when it's hanging. I did go ahead and pin base all my little minis, even though I did not have time to quilt them. I used my new little quick clip tool that helps you close the safety pins really easily so you're not breaking your nails and hurting your fingers all the time. My patrons, you'll be able to see a video of that this week up over on Patreon. So I got all three pin basted. Some of them heavier depending on the size of the pin. Some of them I pinned a lot. And I just went ahead and pinned in the colored fabrics. I left this section where I'm just going to do the quilting in this cream color. So I left those open. And that way I don't have to remove any pins as I'm quilting. I found some of this pinkish, mauvish, whatever color fabric. I had these long strips that were just a little bit wider than this. So I didn't have enough to put it on the quilt going long ways like this. So what I did is I just pieced them across the center this way. I stitched two together on each of them. They're each pieced in the back, and it's not that big of a deal. We piece quilts all the time. Sometimes you just have to piece a mini also. I try not to, but I just made sure that wherever my seam went, that it went in the center and didn't like line up too much with the seams on here. I don't know why, it just seemed like the right thing to do. So it cut back on the bulk of the seams is what I was thinking. But I had enough to do all three of these, and I had a little bit left over, probably just a few inches wide, that I cut up for my scrap bins. Hoping to get to quilting these this week. I'm really looking forward to spending the time and doing some free motion quilting on them. But as I said, the week just got away from me this week. While hanging out on the Margaret Lewin, she has a live stream on Sundays here on YouTube. I'll see if I can go ahead and put a link up in the iCard. I worked on some 4 patches. I actually made 50 of them because I wanted to chat with everyone. I needed a project that I could start and stop sit and chat every now and then and still pay attention to the video, to what people are talking about, and to my projects. So I just used a bunch of 2.5-inch squares that were already cut up. A lot of them are kids' novelty fabrics. And as I said, I made 50 of them. There's 50 here. And they actually went pretty quick. The live streams are usually, I think they're like an hour and a half, 2 hours long. And I was able to get all of it done except for, I made a whole bunch of 2 patches. So then I had to stitch them into the 4 patch. And then this morning I just went ahead and pressed them all open. So I got a lot done. In a time where I might have normally just sat and chat with someone instead of trying to work at the same time. Sometimes when I'm watching a live stream, I spend more time chatting than I do working, so it's nice when I can get something done. There we go. All 50 of them. A couple months ago, my thought was to do a 9 patch a day, and I'd started doing that, but then I realized I kind of like the 4 patch a little better. So while I do have some 9 patches, and I will work on some more of those, I've been going a little bit more heavier on the 4 patches. I want to do a border on them. I haven't decided 100%. I'm going to have plenty of them. I can make 2 quilts, whether I want to put them on point, or if I just want to make the border fabric and have it be all of them be a little wonky. So that way they can be topsy-turvy and moving the quilt like this, or if I put them all on point. I have a feeling I'll probably do both, so that way I can make 2 small quilts out of it, 2 lap quilts. Because by the time I'm done working on all these scraps and getting them all stitched together, I'll have more than enough for more than 1 quilt. And speaking of scraps, that is one of the things I did. I did not cut any of these this weekend, but I did go through one of my bins, and it's kind of hard to show you. Let me see if I can put up a picture. So I spent the afternoon and I just went through and I cut up all the scraps that were in one of my small little baskets. I still have a smaller basket that it needs to be taken care of, but I'm just trying to get this stuff cleaned up in the craft room so that things can get put away on the shelves nice and neat, and I'll have all these fabrics to play with. As you can see in that picture, my little scrap shoe boxes, the little plastic shoe boxes, the red ones, they're getting kind of full. So I'm going to have to start working on some more scrappy projects. I have a few in mind to use up a lot of those fabrics so then I can start all over again. I do have a couple of boxes and little baskets of scraps that are more larger chunks instead of cut-offs from whatever blocks I've been making and quilts I've been doing. So I want to go through and get those cut up too, but they're put away right now and they're not in my way. They're on a different shelf, so I'm not going to worry about those. I want to worry about the ones that I've been producing, the scraps that have been coming up as I'm trimming up blocks and cutting off the edges of, you know, when you make quilts, you always have that chunk along the edge from the background and stuff, from the back of the fabric, the backing fabric. It's one of those days, guys. So it was fun to just sit and chat and work on some 4 patches. I did get some progress done on Rob's Afghan. I went from this marker to here. So that's quite a good distance. I probably am going to add on maybe another 6 or 8 inches, 10 or 12 rows, just to make it a little bit longer. It's almost 6 foot, and I just kind of want to get it to that 6 foot mark. Right now, I held it up when I was standing up in front of Rob's chair, and I told him, I said, hey, this is way big enough for me because it touches the floor, and when I hold it up, it probably goes up to, it's pretty close to the top of my head, and I think I'm about 5'7". So you can't see me behind it. I'm pretty disappeared. Maybe, like I said, a little top of my head might show. So it's getting pretty close to the 6 foot. When I put it on Rob, it looks kind of like it's small. But he had to laugh because when I held it up to me, I disappeared behind it. So it's not a short little Afghan. If you go back to last week's Talk to Me Tuesday, I'll pop it up in the iCard so you can find it easily. You'll see me holding this up. And hopefully you'll be able to see that again next week. And it'll be done. I only have a few of the ends to weave in, just from the last few times that I've been changing the colors since the last time I wove in the ends. So I'm going to take care of that soon, and there won't be very much to do, and it will be finished. It's toasty warm, and he will be able to snuggle up with it. I cast on a new pair of socks for Robbie George. So I've only started on the one. I'm still working on the toe. I haven't gotten to the point where I'm actually working on the foot yet for him. This time I'm using the Burnet Socks. Now what's different with this is 60% acrylic and 40% nylon. So there's no wool in this at all, so it won't be as warm, but it's acrylic, so it will be a little warm. He's not going to notice the difference, but for me what I wanted something that could go through the washer and dryer, and it'll hold up a little bit better and it won't felt as much for him. Because a lot of times the more you wash them, as it starts felting, it's like felt. It's tight. It's really hugs your foot, and I'm sure it's great up north in like snow boots and stuff. But down here in Florida, we don't need socks that are going to be that tight and firm. So just something fun for him to wear that he can throw through the washer and dryer, because I know him. It's going to go through the washer and dryer, so I may as well match a yarn that's going to work for him. One of my amazing subscribers had sent this to me last year in a package, so I was really happy to try this out because this was what I wanted to start purchasing for him this year. So I'm going to be able to test this out. It's machine washable and dryable. It still has 100 grams for 425 yards, which is pretty good. That's going to give me a good size sock for him, even though he has a size 15 foot. Right down here it says that you can get one ball for one pair, because a lot of times you'll get a 50-gram ball, so you need to buy 2 balls. So it's nice to have it all in one. You know the socks are going to reasonably match. And this is in the faded denim colorway. He does prefer things a little bit brighter, and as you can see, it does definitely look faded and stuff like this. It really looks like a worn jeans and jeans jacket and stuff, so that's going to work up really nice. I just kind of like taking this when we have short appointments. I can carry this quickly and easily. It fits into my backpack. I can stick this whole bag right into it. It doesn't take up much space. Rob's Afghan has gotten to the point where I can no longer take it with us to the treatment center. It is just getting to be too heavy, too big to handle. Rob rides in a wheelchair now because it's just too far to walk from the car all the way to the back. It just wears him out, and there's just no sense wearing him out when we can use a wheelchair. So even if he holds things on his lap and I hang things off the handles, it is a bit much to be trying to push down the hallway. Now that the newsprint cowl is starting to get a little bit of fabric to it, as you're knitting in the very beginning, it's kind of hard to... First, you can't really see what's going on, and it's a little bit hard to kind of knit. When you get more fabric on and it starts weighing your project down, it makes it a lot easier and quicker to knit on. Now, normally this would be considered the front, but actually this cowl is meant to be worn on this side. So you have this little bit of a rolled cuff here, and then you have the back side of all your knitting. So it's all purl bumps everywhere. It gives it that nice look and texture. But as you knit it, you just knit it on this way. That way you're not purling anything. You can just knit all the way around, and it goes pretty quick. And last time you saw it, there's like 400, I think it's 398 stitches on here, so it's like 400 stitches. So it does take a little bit to get all the way around, so I have put a few rounds on it. Looks like I got about 7 on there, so that's pretty good for a week's progress on a not main project. I am still working on the Pioneer mitts. It's a little bit different because the pattern is on my phone and I need to follow a chart. I could print it out, but it's easier on my phone because I can zoom in and make the chart a lot bigger. So I've only put a couple rounds onto these. This is one of those projects is at a point right now. Before down here when I was just doing ribbing, I could take it places with me. I don't do charts that often, and I really need to. I only have to pay attention to a small part of it on each of the designs here. But at that point, I really need to pay attention, so it's not something I like to take with me because I don't want to make a mistake. When you're doing just a ribbing like this, you're really going to see if you make any type of a mistake. This has got to be my favorite project of the week. I enjoyed making the little stamps. I had fun just laying them all out here and finding different ones to go. It was really fun because I did not match anything. I have crazy things. I've got food. I've got chickens, birds, dogs, cherries, butterflies, penguins, owls, blah, 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 blah. There's all kinds of things. And because nothing matches, in my opinion, everything matches. It's kind of like an I Spy. I think the next time I make one, I'm going to make it maybe a little bit larger, and I might go ahead and do two. Like if I have one cupcake here, I might have another one there. That way I think it'd be fun for the little kids to play I Spy and the match. So did you have a favorite project this week? Was there one thing that you just always wanted to work on and kept coming back to time after time, even if you had to work on other projects that this was on the back of your mind? I don't know when I'm going to be able to do another one like this, but I'm going to start keeping my eye out as I'm cutting through my stash and going through my scraps. If I see something that'll be fun like this, I'm just going to go ahead and cut off a strip and put it in my little basket. That way when I do get back to a project like this, I'll have it and it'll be ready to go. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button down below. And if you'd like to see more like it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you ring that little bell, YouTube will give you a notification anytime I put up a new video. So that's it for me this week. Have fun and get things done. Bye.